Hello, welcome to another episode of the Dre and Smiley podcast. But you know what? This podcast is going to be a little different. We actually don't have a guest. We're going to go back to the founder and host, Dre, and get some of his ideas. So, Dre, please share with the audience.
Oh, dude, man, I'm excited. So, as you know, we've been brainstorming ways to kind of keep the podcast fresh, right? And so, our newest endeavor in doing that is going to be to start releasing more content on a regular basis. Short, small chunks of content that focuses on a couple different areas. So, to be more specific, you'll start seeing podcasts drop on a more frequent basis related around motivational Mondays, trending Tuesdays, wellness Wednesdays, thoughtful Thursdays, and what's bound to be a crowd favorite, we believe, is Financial Fridays. And then we'll have some others that'll be thrown there as well. For example, thanks to you, Smiley, we're going to also add the debrief after our podcasts. We'll be releasing a separate, small, short debrief of what we just talked to the guest about. Well, based on all that I just shared, what do you think about it? How do you feel about the idea of more content?
I think it's great to come out with more content because the people I meet and I talk to and I travel around all over the country and I tell them about the podcast, it seems like they want more. They want more. But before we can you explain the format of the Motivational Monday or the Trending Tuesdays? Are you bringing in other guests on every daily basis, or is that just you and me conversing?
That's a great question. Great question. So think about it as a smaller space with the same content, right? So the inner circle, the podcast that everyone's accustomed to listening to, is a large space where we have different guests that we speak to regarding a variety of topics. These are guests that have been extremely engaging, insightful, have led incredible lives. In this case, this is just you and me, man. Just kind of a barbershop, like a small barbershop or a backyard barbecue where, either one of us will throw a topic on the table. So, for an example, you mentioned recently you've read a number of good books around finance. So, this is the opportunity for us to throw it on the table, talk about it, kind of figure out, if others might be interested in it, what you liked about it, things that I might find interesting, things I may disagree or agree with. I may talk to you about what's going on in Silicon Valley Bank, which is in the news recently, and both of us can kind of do a deep dive into it, talk about our thoughts on the topic. So that's kind of the structure of it. It's more just you and I having a short conversation about what's going on as it relates to that theme.
That's clever. You know why? Because I know our listeners, the one that go that's as old as we are, if it reminds me of a format like Cisco and Ebert talking about movie theaters. I want to be Cisco if we got to be
Exactly.
any of them too, but I'm Cisco. But
Okay, okay.
but I like the
I gotta be
theme.
Ebert then. I'll be
Yeah, we're
Ebert.
gonna talk about motivational Mondays or wellness Wednesdays, and
Yeah,
this is an opportunity for us to get a dialogue because we're
that's right.
listening and we're asking questions to our guests, which is phenomenal guests we've had. And now we get to have a conversation. This is a great idea. Tell me, Dre, are there any other visions you're working on, or any other things you can plant a
We
seed to our
do. We
audience, like a
do.
sneak peek?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this. And I know you know this, but I'll share this for the listeners that don't know. We're coming up into to a pretty significant milestone for the show. I won't say much more than that, but both you and I have talked about how excited we are, Smiley, and we have kind of a surprise for our listeners that'll be coming here soon. So I'll just say this: stay tuned.
Oh man, I like dropping the mystery and the hint. That's
Yeah, yes,
that'll keep them
sir.
coming.
Yes,
And
sir.
and when you
Yeah.
just high level, if you could just look at it and say, I know we got listeners all over the world, but and maybe when you do the milestone, we'll discuss it. But when you look at the numbers, the statistics, what is something that jumps out at you that you didn't anticipate, that you just like, man, I didn't know that, or something that surprised even you looking at this on a daily basis?
You know, it's interesting. That's a great question, by the way. So, when you and I started this, one of the things that made it so easy and effortless is that both you and I thoroughly enjoy meeting new people, meeting interesting people, and kind of diving deep into who they are and what they do, why, and how they got into what they're doing. Um, and so, what's been interesting, what's been compelling for me is just seeing how, from where we started, how we've grown and the wide variety of people that we've met. In fact, I would encourage you to share the story of the dinner you had recently with one of our guests that would have never happened had we not started this show. And that, before you share that story, that's one huge example of like just the benefit of the podcast, the enjoyment that I think both you and I get from the podcast. But yeah, for our listeners, if you do you mind
I,
sharing that
I
story?
do not mind. I was so humbled to have a chance to meet our for me to meet my first podcast guest in person, Dr. Karina Kwame, the neuroscientist, sustainability PhD, digga digga doo doo jazz artist.
Yes, sir.
She visited Tampa, Florida. She has family here, and I was most honored because I we meet various people, and I say if you're ever in my city within a certain radius, 2 hour radius, I'll come and get you, take you to dinner. Well, I met her and her awesome younger brother. We went to dinner, we walked around Tampa, and we were able to just share ideas. And she was impressed that Dre and I, she didn't know that Dre and I really met virtually by doing push ups during the pandemic. And I said, well, I met Dre twice. And so she's like, you guys seem like you've been knowing each other for years, but meeting Dr.
Yeah,
Kwame in person, and I was most humbled because I met her from TV. I saw her on the Discovery Channel, and she was the expert. And I just
yeah,
reached out to her, and she's a human like the rest of us. And we had
yeah.
tacos. We went to a Mexican restaurant here in Tampa, and I'm so excited to meet her. And she was just normal person, beautiful woman, a beautiful mind. And thanks for allowing me to share that story. But she's the first
Yeah,
podcast
man.
guests I met in person, and I'm eager to meet all of them. I threw out some invitations to whoever we met on this while we were speaking. Anytime they're in Tampa,
Mhm.
Dre and Smiley. If Dre's in town or Smiley's taking them to dinner. So
That's
thank you
right.
for
It's a free meal. It's a free
free
meal.
meal, free meal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And for those that aren't sure of the digga digga do reference, I encourage you to listen if you haven't already to episode 28, which is the episode where both Smiley and I interview Dr. Karina Kwame. An incredible episode, episode 28. So yeah.
So I always do this one. I'll just throw it at you, Dre. We're coming out with some new formats with more content. It's 2023.
Mhm.
Where's Dre and Smiley in 2026? It's only 36 months
Oh,
away.
dude.
Are you thinking that far
Oh
out, or are you
man.
thinking just 2023? What is your horizon, Dre? What is your mind doing over
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. I know you and I have brainstormed this a bit here and there. We're fortunate, and I've said this a minute ago. I'll say it again. We're fortunate in that we really enjoy what we're doing, and the growth that we've had has been organic. Right. I think anyone who goes into any endeavor with the goal of, my goal is to hit the mountaintop without considering, do I enjoy it? Do I um, could I do it for free? Is there fulfillment, etc.? The mountaintop's never going to come. All that said, because of the level of enjoyment we have, because of how effortless it is, because of how well we work together, and as you just mentioned, Karina hinted to that when she said, "Wow, that you guys knew each other for forever." I firmly believe that the show um, has no ceiling, right? And so as we grow, my thought is that other opportunities will come that we probably can't even foresee right now. And who knows what that could be. I don't want to pigeonhole ourselves by saying I could see us being in this space or in that space, because it could be something completely different. But I do believe that at the end of the day, years into the future, for however long we decide to do this, and truth be told, we could do this, until our 90s if we want to. It's not very strenuous. So,
Yeah,
but
true.
but right.
Right?
And so I think whatever it is, it's going to be a situation where we're still going to enjoy it. We're still going to meet incredible people, amazing people, make new friends along the way, like Karina and others that we've met. Um, so that's a long-winded way to say I see our future bright, successful, um, and still enjoying what we're doing.
No, I appreciate that. So I'm going to circle back to the beginning. You started off by saying the new content coming. If you can, just give us a horizon. Is that tomorrow? Is that next week? Is this something starting in April? When can our listeners start to see Monday, Motivational Monday? Or you said we're starting with Financial Fridays. When can they start to see this new format and the new content coming from Dre and Smiley?
Smiley, you got all the right questions, man. That's another great question. So
Whoa.
I'm going to say this. What I encourage all of our listeners to do, and sincerely, I'm saying this, I'm not saying this, to grow numbers, is subscribe to the podcast. Check us out on all of our platforms, which are Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube, and you'll know immediately when these new formats drop. I will say this: it's in the immediate future. It's in the immediate future. So make sure that you've subscribed to all of our platforms, and it's super easy to find. You can just Google Dre ampersand for the and Smiley, and you'll find us on all of our platforms. Again, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And also, if you go to um, Amazon, you'll find a number of books that people don't know this. A lot of people don't know this, that Smiley's an author, and he has a number of books out there. So if you go to Amazon and look up Kevin Smiley Lee, you'll find all the books he's written, and you can. These are separate from the podcast now, so don't expect to read, get books about our bios or the podcast. These are just well written, variety of topics, books that Smiley has written. So yeah,
Well, on that note, Dre, thank you for sharing your vision, and we're eager
yes,
to see
sir.
these drops of these new formats. And thank you.
Hey, man, one more thing I just want to say to our listeners. So, thank you for listening to us. Smiley and I, we're a team that really appreciates, the followers that we've had. We also enjoy I hesitate to call them naysayers, but those that early on would say, "Wait a second, you only have one episode," or "Wait a minute, you only have one follower." What do you mean you have a podcast? So thank you for those of you that have stuck around, and those new followers, new subscribers. We appreciate you, and stick with us. It's going to be a journey. If you're enjoying yourself now, the best is yet to come, as they say.